I'm making this video to appeal for your help because somewhere in this woodland there is what's believed to be a Roman era carving. And a number of years ago now, in 2001, an inspector from Historic England came out to have a look at it. They wrote up a full report with a lot of details in, but some unanswered questions. And we still don't know exactly when it was created, and specifically at the end of the report it says, and I quote, "It is unclear why this carving is located here." So in this video we're going to locate it. I'm going to show you it up close, tell you everything that we do know about it, and then I'm going to hand it over to you and hope that the collective brain power of everybody in this video can be used to answer some of these remaining questions and piece together some of the missing parts of the puzzle. So come along with me and let's do a bit of investigating. I don't usually have to start collecting litter so early in a video, but here we are. Now today's adventure has been fueled by and sponsored by HelloFresh, who are offering viewers of this video 50% off your first box, 20% off your next 4 boxes, and free desserts for life. If that sounds good, you can scan the QR code on screen, use the code Northern50, or check out the link in the description. And in terms of what I've been cooking, that's going to be my pit stop a bit later on, so I'll show you then. For now though, let's get to the investigation. And I guess the first thing we need to know is, where are we? Well, we're in a place called Adel Woods, which is in the district of Leeds in West Yorkshire. This woodland's a little bit of a maze, as you can probably see, and the location here, specifically being in a woodland, is probably going to be quite pertinent when it comes to trying to identify what this is. So what else do we know? Well, the Historic England report was published quite a long time ago now, in 2001, and since then it doesn't look like there's been much discussion about it. I found maybe a handful of people talking about this online, and many of those accounts were from several years ago as well. But somebody recently sent this location to me, and thank you so much for that, because it looks really interesting. Can anybody identify this? I'm using the views of this channel as my Google at this point, because you don't want to see me pull my phone out and search for pictures of that. I'm sure one of you knows. So if Historic England have been here already, written a report, what did they think? Well, in order to understand their theory, we need to know a little bit about the gods of the time. The report states quite clearly that they believe it to be a Romano-British carving of a god or deity. Now, I used the word gods a moment ago, plural, very intentionally, and that's a term used frequently when discussing what we call polytheistic religions. So these are religions that don't have a single god, but they have many. And around this time, and I'd say this is somewhat prevalent still to today, many beliefs were centered around natural phenomenon and key elements of life. For example, the sky, the seas, health, fertility, and in some cases, woodland. Now, I'm not going to run you through all of the Roman gods, all of the religious history of England at that time, partly because I don't understand it well enough myself. I did quite a lot of reading about the subject, preparing for this video, and for the most part it made sense, but I did find some conflicting opinions as well. But let's cut to the chase. Who do they think this carving is of? Well, I'm going to show you it very soon, we're almost there. But I can tell you that according to Historic England, it's the Celtic god Cocidius. Now, they did include a number of reasons as to why they believe this is Cocidius. And I'm going to read you 2 or 3 short quotes from the report as soon as we get there. But let's try and find it first so I can show you it up close and we can see exactly what they were talking about. I'm not quite sure how hidden away this is. So thankfully, I have managed to find the location on Google Maps. So it's straight through there. I'm hoping there's going to be some kind of footpath. Oh, there's some rocks over there. Okay, it's somewhere here. Not there. Oop. Keep an eye out for any unusual looking markings. You might see it before I do. I can see it. Here it is. I have brought some materials to take a rubbing just in case it doesn't come through on the camera, but hopefully that's quite clear to see. So we've got a figure here with what's believed to be a shield and a spear. Now, whilst you're looking at that, let me read you just 2 or 3 small quotes from the report to give you a bit more context upon how they came about to this idea. So the inspector said, "The Roman god Mars, originally an italic deity associated with fertility and untamed woodlands, became linked with Celtic warrior deities such as Cocidius. The shield and spear suggest the figure depicts a warrior god and is believed to represent the Celtic deity Cocidius. And lastly, the carving depicts a schematic image of a human figure in a style typical of the Brigantes tribal region. The carving is difficult to date, but the depiction of a circular shield is characteristic of early Roman images. The figure has been identified as a Celtic warrior god Cocidius, a deity which features regularly in Romano-British society. Now, in terms of size, on record it said it's around 40 centimetres tall. So it was narrowed down to either being some kind of shrine or a burial site, and there are apparently no signs of this being a burial site. But there is also not much else in the local area to give more context to this. But it's also the location that's one of the reasons why some people dispute these claims. That, and not my words by the way, some people say this is a nondescript, a non-distinct character, and that there's not enough there to really make a justified claim. But what do you think? That's everything I can tell you about this, unfortunately. I will put a link to the Historic England report in the description of this video. And now all I can do is throw it in your direction. So let me know what you think. I am tempted to take a rubbing of it actually before we go, just to see if there's any other details in there we couldn't see. And I'll grab the what 3 words location as well. First up though, I'm going to have a little snack break. Now our sponsor today are HelloFresh, who are offering 50% off your first box, 20% off your next 4 boxes, and free desserts for life. You can scan the QR code, use the discount code Northern50, or check the link in the description. And sincerely, I'm quite glad they got in touch, because if you've been on this channel before, you'll know I frequently, it's my fault, forget to pack snacks. But not only have I got a snack today, I've got a tasty snack. Now with the discounts applied, you can get meals as low as £1.62 per person. You can pause your deliveries anytime. And one thing that surprised me after having a look at the options is the diversity of the menu. And since I'm traveling a lot at the moment, I've gone light. I've picked out a bunch of salads because the last thing I want on an 8-mile round trip is a super heavy stomach, let's face it. So today I've got Indonesian style peanut chicken salad. They do vegetarian stuff as well. Honestly, they had so many different options I should say. And it kind of made me realize that I probably need to level up my cooking a bit. I wouldn't say I'm a bad cook, but you know, everyone gets used to just cooking the same things all the time. And I think I need to just step up my flavors a bit. So I'm probably going to be reusing some of these recipes. So if you're interested in home cooking, cooking for food on the go, there's loads of different stuff, plenty of different options. You can scan the QR code, check out the link in the description, or use Northern50 at the checkout to get your 50% off box 1, 20% off your next 4 boxes, and your free desserts for life. Okay, let me have a quick snack, then we can head out, because there's something else unusual in this woodland that's got kind of a unique history, so we need to try and find that before we go. Do you know what I'm wondering now that I've got my paper out? Is it acceptable to do a charcoal rubbing on a carving this old? Or am I gonna get a load of backlash here? I don't know the answer, so maybe we'll skip that. But one thing that is interesting here, to a non-geologist like me, for some reason, this just looks kind of strange. It's so uniform, and that second layer. Anyway, let's get the what 3 words. Pays, scare, cooks. Is that right? Is that accurate? Yeah. So if you want to come and have a look for yourself, that's where you need to get to. Okay, let's move on to our next target, 7 Arches. Since we're in adventure mode now, let's start the tracker. So why do we want to go to 7 Arches? It's got quite a descriptive name, as I'm sure you've already picked up on, and you could have a pretty good guess as to what it is. Now, as I mentioned earlier, we are in the district of Leeds, and Leeds, squirrel or something, Leeds city centre is, I think, down that way, southeast from here. Oh yeah, pretty much. So roughly down that way. And the 7 Arches, we've got an old abandoned rugby pitch here. I wonder why that got abandoned. Anyway, and 7 Arches is an old aqueduct. It's a scheduled monument. In other words, it's got protected status like a listed building. And a little bit unusually, it was only in use for 24 years. Now, I'm not an expert on this stuff, but that doesn't seem like a very long time. It was built in the early 1800s, and according to the reports, it was needed because after sort of 1830, the most common sources of drinking water in Leeds became unsuitable. The river, for example. And drinking from a river, looking back from 2025, doesn't ever seem like it would have been a good idea. But hey, this is the 1800s. And it's said that, among other things, local businesses were polluting the water. So it became unusable. So the Seven Arches Aqueduct was built to bring a new water source, new source of drinking water, into the growing city of Leeds. Now, why it didn't last that long, I don't know. I'm sure there's obviously a good reason. There is a somewhat complex timeline here of, public ownership followed by privatization of water supplies. Ooh. I'm just choosing these directions at random, by the way, which will no doubt irritate some viewers. I understand that. Why not just use a map? I don't know, sometimes it's fun to get a bit lost. So yeah, different owners of the water supply, and it was just superseded by a new source, long story short. But that's not the only strange thing about it. Okay, I did get some directions just then from a friendly local, but if you were to ask me, I'd say I'm a bit more lost now. It wasn't not her fault, just unfamiliar territory. So we're currently walking past the Leo Denzians Cricket Club, and apparently there's a snicket, if you know this term, just down here. That's not it, surely. This was the direction I was given. Snake towards the car park and then go straight through. Car park's over there. This absolutely does not look promising. Okay. This is looking a bit better. Now, whenever we come across listed buildings, scheduled monuments on this channel, there's a question that often comes up, and it's a very fair one. And it's because a lot of these so-called protected monuments, buildings and structures are in very bad condition, really heavy states of disrepair. And so a lot of people say, what's the point in it being listed if it's just going to be left to ruin, left to rot? And it's a very valid question. I suppose the status, it does a few things, but primarily it means it's not going to be destroyed. If somebody wants to build some houses on the site of that Roman carving, they can't just blow it up and put some houses there. But it doesn't necessarily guarantee that money's going to be spent to protect it from nature, from the elements, and from time, I suppose. Leeds Voluntary Footpath Rangers. Okay, so we're heading this way. What's this? The Slabbering Baby. Wow. That's a lot of words. Let's try and find a summary. Been repaired. Where's the name from though? Just in case you want to pause on certain parts of this sign. Just going to hover over each section for a few seconds. Hit pause if you wish. It's actually connected to a subject that I'm hoping to do a full video on very soon. And that's, I guess, more generally water and wells, because there's quite a significant religious connection to a lot of these older wells around England. And there's some pretty interesting stories around them. So we know that most listed buildings, etc., don't really get too much, if any, repair work done. But that's where the Seven Arches are different, because quite uniquely, they were repaired. Now let's get up close to them and see if you can spot where the repair work was done. I was just about to say, where are these arches? Where could they be? Oh, there we go. It's actually a lot bigger than I thought. And I thought it was kind of partial ruin, but it's not at all. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, okay. Just checking permissive path. I recently learned, maybe it's just me who didn't know, permissive path is private land where it's been given permission to the public to pass through. But actually now I think about it, how does that differ from a footpath through farmland? Isn't that a permissive path as well? I need to go and read up on it again. Okay, so can you see the modern part of this? Have a good look. And the reason I was asking is because it's kind of a bit of a trick question. When it comes to listed buildings or scheduled monuments, if you do repair them and you get permission to repair them, you have to carry out the repairs in a way that preserves the original look, the aesthetics of whatever it is you're repairing. And so when this was repaired, quite a lot of work was done from what I've read, but it was all concealed. So actually, a lot of the work carried out, you won't be able to see is inside the brickwork. There are some photos online, if you have a look, that show various stages of the repair work, and you can see where they've sealed it up again. So underneath all of this stone, for example, so I presume this stone is now covering where the water would have travelled. And the water source was a local reservoir called Ekup Reservoir. I'll go and get a shot of the information board, because I know some of you like to see those. Scotland wood. Okay, now's your chance to pause. Watch out for those wasps. There's loads of bugs on here. A ladybird, another ladybird. Oop, quite a few wasps. So it was the increase in public demand that meant the aqueduct wasn't enough. So it was decommissioned in 1866. Also, it does say nowadays several pipes continue to carry half of Leeds' entire water supply alongside the aqueduct. Are those pipes inside it then? I think they might be, because I can't see any other pipes. Who knows? Well, that is going to be the end of today's adventure. I might include one little bonus chapter in case there's some extra time on the end of this video when you're watching it, for anybody who just wants a casual stroll through the woods, because I know there's a few of you out there. But I want to say thank you so much for watching this video, supporting the channel and making all these trips possible. I'm having a lot of fun with them, and I've got a lot of ideas for more interesting and unique things I can show you coming up soon. So fingers crossed, I'll see you next time. Okay, so who's left? I know there'll be at least a few of you who like to stick it out to the end. I'm never quite sure when to finish these videos. I try and keep in the most densely packed parts, but actually when I'm filming, I'm normally out walking for 2 to 3 hours maybe. But we'll treat this last section as a bit of an experiment, and if anybody enjoys it, let me know. And I've just realised I forgot to give a distance update. That is bad of me, I promised that as well. So 32 minutes since I started timing it, only 2 kilometres. So that's from the carving to the aqueduct, 2 kilometres. Not too bad. One thing I haven't asked about for a while as well, and I hope you don't mind, is feedback, because I'm always trying to find the right balance with these videos still, between just casual walking around places I don't know too well, and then, you know, bringing information, doing more research. And I feel like I haven't quite got the right balance yet. But as you may have also guessed, if you've been here for more than one video, I do like variety. And I think a lot of viewers on this channel do as well. So it's not as if every week it's a history video with a story. Sometimes it's nature, sometimes it's unexplained places. And sometimes we just rock up somewhere and have a look around, see what's going on. But if you've got any recommendations, any suggestions, and do feel free, as always, to be totally honest. Even if it's bad, because it won't upset me, it won't offend me. It'll just help me to make better videos moving forward. So I would really appreciate it. If you've got no thoughts on it, that's fine, don't worry. It's all good. I'm quite intrigued to see what kind of opinions people are going to have on that carving as well. Because I wasn't lying when I said that there hasn't been much discussion about it. It's really not a lot online. And the story goes that it was just discovered by accident by somebody walking their dog. I presume around 2001, the same time Historic England came out to have a look at it. So maybe there's other things in this woodland yet to be discovered. It seems highly likely. But a lot of time has passed since then. A lot of this area is overgrown. And so, you know, who knows? Who knows what's in there? Got an old gate post. It's kind of been carved around the edge. And we're back at the well. I think we can go back a different way. There's a lot of stone in there. Oh, old bridge. There must be some dogs in the area that would love to dive into that. Another challenge of filming in woodlands is the lack of light. So I'm never quite sure how the footage is going to turn out. Hopefully it's not bad quality, but they really block out the sunlight, all these leaves. Some of you have also asked recently if I can point out and identify a few more plants that we pass by. And truthfully, the answer is currently no. I wish I could. It's a subject that I'm yet to, start discovering, but I am interested. And so that is one of my goals, to be able to do that. So hopefully, before too long, I can tell you that's a nettle. I don't want to touch that. Not after the sound mirror video. Ugh. But yeah, hopefully at some point I'll be able to understand the environment a bit better and show you one or two more interesting things. It's one of the things that I love about doing this as a job, is that when I'm not filming or editing, I just get to spend my time learning. So I've got a growing stack of books at home that I'm just kind of obsessively working my way through. The good kind of obsessive. Uncovering all my ignorances, I guess. For example, I don't know what these are. They're like tiny little apples. Oh, so this is where we started the video. And the caption quite rightly says to look at the difference in plants and trees. Because there wasn't much there then. But now, there's quite a bit. This will be a good place to end the video then, because we're pretty much back at the entrance, but let's have a quick look at Adel Crag. Or Crags, was it? I should know, I saw it 2 seconds ago. It's pretty weird looking. Is that like a glacial deposit? Because it just looks weird, doesn't it? Mainly thinking about this bit sitting on top. Any weird carvings? Doesn't look like it. Just the usual names. Somebody's gone for the easier version, just pen. I'm not going to climb up there, sorry about that. I'm sure you won't mind. Well, there we go. The end of the adventure. Hope you've enjoyed today's video. I'm going to head home now and, to be honest, get a cold shower because it doesn't look that warm, but I'm sweating. TMI, sorry. 20 degrees. It's kind of humid. Pretty sure my car is somewhere over there, roughly. I'll find it, hopefully. Thank you so much for watching, and hopefully see you next time.